Ocarina of Time is considered to be one of the greatest games in history. Soon to be remade this year, I decided to take on a challenge that almost feels impossible. The rules to this challenge are pretty simple. Every enemy throughout the game is completely random, besides any enemy that is considered a boss. Every enemy has completely random sizes ranging from tiny little ants to towering monsters. This includes boss enemies as well. Also, the enemies can be invisible, and I don't know why. Every enemy in the game moves and attacks 2 times as fast as a normal enemy. This includes bosses as well. I am required to beat the game after completing every dungeon and obtaining their respected medallions. Intentional glitches are not allowed, and I can only have 3 hearts. Now that you know the rules to this challenge, I will be telling you the story about my adventures in Ocarina of Time. For my first task, I am to obtain my very own sword and shield. To do this, I need to head over to this little hole in the wall and dodge a giant boulder to obtain the prized possession of the Kokiri, which is just a little sword. I then run around gathering every rupee I can find until I have a total of 40 rupees. With 40 rupees in my possession, I run over to the shop and buy my very own shield. Now that I have my very own sword and shield, I am now ready to show this guy who's boss and head straight for the Great Deku Tree. And this is where I encounter my first problem.
Are you kidding me? What is that? I can't even see it! Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's something I didn't tell you guys yet. And it's that I set every enemy in the game to do max damage, so no matter what damage I take from any enemy, it will instantly kill me. And don't worry, I quickly changed the settings so that I take normal damage, and I will soon find out that even that won't be so easy. But before that, my stubborn will got the best of me, and so I headed straight for the Great Deku Tree. He tells me that he is cursed and I must free him of this curse. He opens his mouth, which is our way into the first dungeon.
Is that a little mini knight? And I'm dead.
After this, I die quite a few times, and that's kind of what I get for setting the game to be so difficult. But pushing that to the side, I managed to obtain the slingshot, which will be extremely useful for this run. So after obtaining the slingshot, I make my way back to the vines I'm gonna need to climb, and I find a Deku stick. Yay. I absolutely need this for the dungeon, so it's perfect that I got it off this random enemy. I then die a bunch of times that I'm just not gonna show because it's just kind of ridiculous. I died over 20 times before changing the difficulty, and I'm just not having that, especially after this invisible fire bat killed me and burned my shield. Yeah, I'm good. So starting off somewhat fresh and grabbing myself a new shield, I headed my way back towards the Deku Tree, but on the way there, I am jumped by one of the Gerudo guards, so I quickly slime her out and I head straight into the dungeon once again. I end up grabbing some Skulltulas as they're gonna be extremely useful later on, and then I have yet another shield burnt to a crisp and die to this stupid enemy that doesn't take damage to normal sword swings. And then after this, I die in one of the most garbage ways you will ever see.
Okay. Are you what kind of are you sick?
Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention, and it's that any void I am sent to or I fall into, I will instantly die every time. And there's also one more thing that I haven't told you guys about yet, but I'm just gonna wait until you guys can see it for yourself. Heading my way back through the dungeon, I die in some more absolute garbage ways.
I can't. Get off of me! This guy is so annoying! Stop, I don't want to restart.
But going through this dungeon, I did learn something very useful. And it's that anytime I go through a new door or loading zone, the enemies that respawn will always be different. So I can kind of just pick and choose what kind of enemies I actually want, but sometimes I can't. But putting that to the side, I managed to make my way through and die a few more times before I am finally able to reach the boss.
What? No! Stop! Yo!
Right after this though, I am able to kill this guy and finally get the door open to the final boss of this dungeon. And let me tell you that this boss was not gonna be easy. I ended up beating him on my first try. We are then sent back to the Great Deku Tree where he's gonna tell us all the Zelda lore that we don't need to hear. After listening to a bunch of nonsense, he finally gives us the spiritual stone that we so desperately needed. The Great Deku Tree then dies, and I am left with a mission to obtain the remaining 2 spiritual stones. After this, I head back to the shop to purchase yet another shield, and then I begin to set out on my brand new adventure. But before I can make my way out of the village, Zora stops us and gives us an ocarina. And then Link does this, which I will never understand to this day. Finally making our way to Hyrule Field, we are interrupted by that one guy that nobody likes. He tells us to head to Hyrule Castle, that the princess is there. And then I fall for that stupid. He then finally leaves and I begin to head straight to Hyrule Castle. I am then completely ambushed and have to fight my way through the night, which I successfully accomplish. Finally, the gates begin to lower and I am able to make it to the town market. I quickly grab some rupees. I then meet my future wife that tells me her name is Malin and that her dad has went to the castle and hasn't come back. I then head to the castle in search of Zelda and her father. Finally reaching Hyrule Castle, I am then interrupted by this goddamn owl once again. He warns me not to get caught by the guards. I weave out his minigame and then he leaves. I go to talk to Malin, but I realize she isn't here. To get Malin to appear, I purposely get caught by the guards, which Malin then appears, and I need to talk to her because I need this egg. This egg will wake up her father who is sleeping on the job. I then head back to grab some more rupees to head to the shop to buy myself a brand new Hylian shield. I then head back to Hyrule Castle, dodge out the guards, and I finally find Malin's father, who is in fact sleeping on the job. And since my egg hasn't hatched yet, which I do have to wait till morning, I end up just sitting up on top of this box and watching him while he sleeps. Morning arises and I'm finally able to wake him up. I warn him that Malin has some knuckle sandwiches waiting for him at home, so he just dips, which finally gives me the space to make my way into Hyrule Castle. Inside the castle, I skillfully dodge out all the guards, stealing this guy of his lunch money and making my way to Zelda. And here we see some cool Mario 64 stuff. We got some Mario, some Princess Peach, some Yoshi, some Luigi, Bowser. Cool stuff. We then finally talk to Zelda. She questions if we have the spiritual stone, which we do. So she tells us that she is Zelda, and she begins to drop a bunch of more Zelda lore on us that we don't need to hear. But after getting through her yap session, we are able to see the evil man that she saw in her nightmares. And well, yeah, he looks pretty evil. She then writes us a letter that we're going to need for the guard at Death Mountain. We then meet Impa, who teaches us Zelda's lullaby. She then safely escorts us out of the castle, sending us on our next journey to Death Mountain. Instead of that though, I decide to pay a visit to my future wife at Lon Lon Ranch, which is in fact Malin. Malin is going to teach us Epona's song, which will be very useful later on. I then find Malin's father sleeping on the job once again. He tells us about his 3 special Kukos and that if I can catch all 3 of them, he will give us something good. I play his game and I manage to catch all 3 of them. He then asks me if I would like to marry Malin, which I gladly accept, and then he gives me a bottle of milk. The milk itself is not what is important here, but the bottle itself. This bottle will be one of the most crucial items for this entire run, and you will see why later on. We then head to our next destination, which is Kakariko Village. Here is where we will use that letter that Zelda gave to us to show the guard who is guarding the gate that leads to Death Mountain. He ends up opening the gate for us, and we finally head our way to Death Mountain. Finally arriving at Death Mountain Trail, we're attacked by a couple of stragglers, but there was nothing crazy that I couldn't handle. After this, I make my way to Goron City. Here is where we'll finally get to talk to Darunia, who is the king of the Gorons. He tells us that he is really angry and to get out of his face. To get Darunia to talk to us, we're gonna need to learn a new song. For that, we're gonna have to head to the Lost Woods. Arriving at the Lost Woods, we are interrupted by that one Zelda theme that always makes my ears bleed. He tells us that this is a sacred place where we will find the Sacred Forest Meadow. We Matrix Neo past his minigame, and then he leaves. We make our way to the Lost Woods, arriving at the Sacred Forest Meadow, and then we are attacked by this wolf. I'm not gonna lie, this wolf was pretty annoying to fight, forcing me to use my most powerful weapon against him, the Deku Stick. With that, we were able to defeat the wolf. I end up flying through this maze, and finally arriving at the Sacred Forest Meadow, which is where we find Sarah singing the song that we've been following this entire time. She teaches us how to play her song, and then we leave. But before we leave, we make our way towards a close-by fairy fountain. This is where that bottle we got from Lon Lon Ranch will become very useful. If we die with a fairy caught in one of our bottles, it will instantly revive us. But since I already had milk on me that gave us basically 2 full heals, I decided not to take a fairy at this very moment, but I will be back. On my way out of the Lost Woods, we are yet again stopped by this damn owl who doesn't know how to shut up. He tells us nothing important. I power slide past his minigame, and then he leaves. On my way out of the Lost Woods, I find his minigame, and I do it for some extra ammo for my slingshot. Finally arriving back at Goron City, we come over to Darunia, and we sing that song for him that we just learned. And now that he's super happy that we cured his depression, he gives us the Goron bracelets that will allow us to pick up bomb flowers. He then tells us to head to Dodongo's Cavern, which is exactly what we do. Upon entering Dodongo's Cavern, we're completely harassed through the walls, leaving me with no choice but to reset the room. Finally being able to blow up the wall, we are able to enter our second dungeon. Now I'm gonna be honest and say that this dungeon wasn't very hard. I only had like 3 instances where I almost actually died, which I will show you now.
Yo. Oh my god, I was to do against. Oh my god. Okay, I need to drink this immediately or I'm gonna die. Oh my god. Oh my god. Dude, this is so stupid. I can't do anything. I'm just getting destroyed. Oh my god. Oh my god. I can't even lock onto this idiot. Okay, I think I got him. Oh my god, these things are here too? Yeah, freaking get out of there. He's getting bigger and bigger. Oh, we got him. Oh my god.
Now I can't lie and say that this fight was not a nightmare. I'm locked in a room with a guy that can literally one-shot me. Not only that, but since he can move 2 times faster and attack 2 times faster, it is extremely hard not to get one-tapped by this guy. So for the absolute safest route, for 5 minutes, I sat here and ran around the map placing bombs for him to walk into until I was able to weaken him enough to actually kill him.
Oh my god. He's freaking running at me. Oh my god, thank god.
Thank God was right, because I had chills shivering down my spine after fighting that guy. After this, though, I almost died to these little 2 clowns that I had to fight. Extremely annoying, just jumping all around, just constantly hitting me, even hitting me through my shield at times, but I was able to fend them off.
Actually so cringe.
Making my way through the dungeon, I finally acquired the bomb bag, which allows us to hold up to 20 bombs on our own, which also allows us to open the final part of the dungeon, allowing me to jump down to make my way to the final boss of... Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention about that fall damage modifier. Any fall damage I take, no matter how high it is, I will instantly die every time. This doesn't really make the challenge much harder, but it's more just of an annoying nuisance. Now I'm gonna be honest with you, you're not going to expect what you're about to see, as it's one of the most terrifying things I have ever seen in this game.
No way, he's actually that small. He's like a little baby. Oh my god, but he shoots crazy though.
I can't lie, this was an absolute treat to be had. But with that, this boss was an absolute joke still, and I was able to defeat him my first try. With that, I was summoned by the goddesses of Hyrule, which sent me over to Darunia, who decides to body slam me on entering, and finally giving me the 2nd spiritual stone that we so desperately needed. With that, he tells us about the fairy that's hanging around Death Mountain that can power us up. After that, his goons decide to jump me, but I managed to escape with my life. Heading my way up Death Mountain, I am able to use the bombs I acquired in Dodongo's Cavern to destroy the rocks blocking our way. I stopped by this cave to obtain an item that is absolutely essential for progressing. I realized I mixed up the spots though, so I had to head back to the Lost Woods for the spot that I mistaken it for. Inside, I catch a fish within my bottle and begin to head back to the top of Death Mountain. Speed running my way past the falling rocks, I am completely ambushed by one of the Gerudo guards.
Oh my god. Get freaking. Okay.
Yeah, that completely sucked. But what's worse is the fact that she doesn't kill me. Instead, she sends me to the void, and you know what that means.
Are you f***ing kidding me?
Making my way back up Death Mountain, I am hit with a rock and an invisible fire bat. But finally, I am able to reach the top of Death Mountain and open the passageway that leads to the fairy fountain. In here, the Great Fairy gives us an upgrade to our spin attack, which I was having a little too much fun with. After this, I decide to head into the actual Death Mountain to obtain a gold Skulltula. I then talk to the owl that haunts my nightmares so he can give me a free ride down Death Mountain. Arriving back at Kakariko Village, I started to wonder if I hurt a chicken enough, will it spawn a bunch of random enemies? So I decided to lay out this random chicken, and it turns out that they spawn as normal chickens, but in a bunch of different sizes. So after escaping with my life, I make my way to Zora's River, where I am stopped by the owl. He tells us that Zora's domain is up ahead, and that the door will not open unless I play the melody of the royal family. He then leaves. After this, I buy a bunch of magic beans that I don't think I ever use. I then play Zelda's Lullaby to open a passageway that will lead me to Zora's domain. Arriving at Zora's domain, I stock up on some items, head upstairs, and I begin to do the diving game. I successfully complete the diving game, and I acquired the scale. We used the scale to obtain a bottle with a letter inside. I then head back to Zora's domain to show the king the letter. The letter is from his daughter who is trapped inside Jabu-Jabu. With no choice other than letting us save his daughter, he lets us pass, but only after we watch him do this. Yeah, I know, that was pretty brutal, but we got to keep the bottle from it, so I guess it's okay. Finally arriving at Zora's fountain, we used the fish that we caught earlier in our bottle, and this opens our way into the third dungeon. Inside Jabu-Jabu, I immediately was attacked by an ice bat and a Gerudo guard, but I managed to make it through. I then find Princess Ruto inside. She tells us that she never asked for any help and that she never wrote that letter either, and that we're just making things up. She then runs away, forcing us to chase her down, and then this happens.
Oh my god. You gotta be oh, not this guy. No, not the planes!
After managing to escape with my life, we talk to Princess Ruto. She tells us to go home, but we refuse. So instead, she tells us to carry her all the way through the dungeon, which I think is such a stupid. Making our way through, I am completely harassed yet again.
Oh my god, this is so annoying. He still killed me like.
And then right after this, I'm completely ambushed right off the start.
Oh my, no, not this guy. No, stop. Stop. I'm not fighting you. Why is that gigantic? What am I supposed to do against that? Oh my god. It's like, it's directly in the way. Like, you gotta be joking.
Making my way back to Princess Ruto, I finally begin to start escorting her. But before I can do that, I'm forced to reset this room multiple times after seeing all the BS that's being thrown at me.
And there's a wolf down here. And I get fucking hit by a bottle. Like, oh my gosh. Oh my god, dude, come on. Get off of me. Oh my god, okay. I'm just running through. And he's it. Are you serious? God. Jesus.
Finally making our way through, we are able to take the elevator up, leading to this next part, which is probably the most BS part of this entire dungeon.
Oh my god. No! Not this. Not literally anything but this. Please, please. No, I'm running. I'm sorry. Oh, why does she respawn?
So here's the problem with this section. I am forced to carry dead weight while I am harassed by 100 enemies in a linear hallway. And for some reason, the game decides to give me the worst enemies possible every time. Unable to find any hearts, I am killed and forced to restart yet again. Upon entering again for the last time, I am hit by an invisible ice bat. I about had it after this death, so I decided to leave the dungeon. I headed over to Hyrule Castle in search of a spell that I'm going to need. Inside the fairy fountain, the Great Fairy grants me with Din's Fire, which should make the dungeon a lot easier for us. Arriving back inside Jabu-Jabu, I see the horrors that are awaiting us, so I decide to reset the room. Trying to make my way through the dungeon once again, I am completely harassed by a gigantic spider blocking the way, guarded by 2 lizards, forcing me to use Din's Fire right away. This doesn't kill the lizards, but it does get the spider out of my way, making Din's Fire not as OP as you would think it would be, but still pretty good and definitely worth the grab. I use it again to tank some hits and take a couple enemies out on the way. Arriving back at what I call Death Valley, I noticed there's some pretty bad enemy spawns, so I decide to reset the room to something I can actually handle. And then this absolute garbage happens.
That was just fucking bullshit.
I then run into a wolf and a jellyfish in the center, so I decide to use Din's Fire to take both of them out. The jellyfish then spawns in one of the most deadly enemies upon dying, forcing me to run for my life. I somehow managed to run to the complete other side of the room, entering one of the rooms I'm going to need to complete the dungeon. Now, I didn't mention this before, but while I was out getting Din's Fire, I also grabbed some milk on the way, allowing me to heal up a total of 4 times to full health, but that didn't really matter against an immovable object, so I ended up dying, which I am killed by again after respawning. And then you thought that was it? Well, guess what? Here's another one again invisible. After dying a bunch of times, I'm finally able to make it to one of the rooms that we're going to need. Upon using Din's Fire to clear out the room, they spawn in one of the most powerful enemies, of course, like always, but this actually helped me out pretty well. Since he was a lot larger than normal, it was a lot easier for me to land hits on him while he couldn't hit me at all. This gave me the idea to just completely wail on him until he died, which I can't lie, this was pretty fun. But the fight wasn't over yet. There was actually still an invisible Stalfos in the room, so I had to completely fight this guy blind. This battle was a pretty tough one and a long fight, but I was able to win the battle after charging up a fully charged spin attack. After winning the battle, a chest spawns and we finally acquire the boomerang. Oh, and can you guess what happens after this? I bet you couldn't.
No, why is this guy here? No, 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 no. Oh, no, no, stop. I can't. Like, that's such some f***ing bullshit. Yep, and goodbye. Okay. And he gets me. Like, you gotta be God damn it, I'm gonna die to this thing. Yep, there it is.
Now after that utter garbage, I'm able to make it to the next 2 rooms and complete them.
Yep. This is why I got Din's Fire. Exactly why I got it. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. Oh my god. Stop. Ass room. How much do they kill this thing? Oh wait. There we go.
We acquired the compass and then deal with some more actual nonsense.
And okay. No. No! I'm trying to get in the door. Yup, and goodbye. I'm dead. Yep, this is so stupid, bro. He just doesn't let me leave. Like, I actually can't get the f away from him. And this guy, I swear to God, if he kills me. No, I'm not dealing with those little saucer dudes. Like, get them out of here. Why is he still here? The saucer guy is still here. The saucer guy is still here. Oh my god, like, this is so annoying. Like, I can't do anything. I actually can't do anything here.
And finally, after all the blood, sweat, and tears, we finally find the spiritual stone. But our happiness is cut short with the most annoying little boss fight I have ever seen.
Okay. And he's fucking super fast. That's gonna be great. Oh my god. I can't even get around him. Dude, this is so stupid. Oh my god. This is dumb as fuck.
Oh, can you guess what I died to after this?
And we're dead. We're dead. Yep, nothing I could do. Literally nothing I could fucking do. What the f? Okay, he's 3 times the size. Like, he's like catching up to me. Like, this is so fucking retarded. Okay. And he's small as fuck. Okay, and he's fucking 5 times as fast. Like, how? Can I just hit him with fucking Deku nuts? I'm about to try that. Nope. Okay, he just does that. Okay. No, bro! Wait! I'm frozen. And I'm frozen. And I can't hit the thing up there because I'm frozen again. And now this guy's in the way. And I'm hit again, and I got eaten, and that's when I call it.
After this, I took a few hour break because I was clearly crashing out pretty bad. But when I came back, a miracle happened.
Yes! Oh my god. Why is there... What the hell? I didn't know this guy spawns in here.
After I was able to beat that sad excuse for a boss fight, I was able to make it to the final boss of this dungeon. The only thing I really have to say about this boss fight was that it was pretty lame and boring. Since he was way larger than normal, it was kind of hard to hit his weak spot, making this fight a lot longer than it should have been. But besides that, I was able to beat him on my first try.
Can you stop fucking moving so much? Thank you.
After defeating the boss, I am called useless after I quite literally did everything. Me and Ruto are then summoned by the goddesses of Hyrule, where I am then uncomfortably hit on. She then proposes to me with a Zora engagement ring, which is literally just a spiritual stone. But finally, after all the blood, sweat, and tears we put into these dungeons, we finally acquired the 3rd and final spiritual stone. After that, I was able to make a fairy finally spawn with my Deku stick. And now that we have all 3 spiritual stones, it's time to head to the Temple of Time. But before that, I am jumped by yet another Gerudo guard.
Oh my god. Are you f***ing kidding me?
Luckily, I had a fairy on me, so I was able to survive that utter nonsense. I am then completely jump scared by this random giant that decided to spawn on top of me, which I thought was super funny. We then arrive at Hyrule Field's bridge, where something weird happens. The sky begins to turn dark, and the bridge starts to lower. We then see Zelda and Impa riding on horseback, away from the castle. Zelda throws something into the water, and then he shows up. The man who looked clearly evil before this happened. He questions me on where Zelda and Impa ran off to. Instead of telling him what he wants to know, I decide to scrap with him, but he easily overpowers us. He tells us that he is Ganondorf and that he will rule the world, and then he dips. After that little scuffle, I head straight for the Temple of Time. After arriving at the Temple of Time, I forgot to grab the ocarina that Zelda threw into the water, so I ran back and quickly grabbed that, before heading back to the Temple of Time. Upon obtaining the Ocarina of Time, Zelda spiritually teaches me a melody that will open the door of time. With that, I make my way back to the Temple of Time and sing the song that Zelda taught me. Upon singing the song for the Door of Time, the 3 spiritual stones that we gathered sit on the pedestal in front of us, and the Door of Time begins to open. Finally, at long last, we are only one step away from obtaining the Master Sword. Upon seeing the Master Sword, I know I only have one thing left to do, and that's to pull the Master Sword.